AMDG more. You know, a classic Jesuit sort of posture is it's possible to find God in all things. All things. Emphasis on the all. And I think there's certain things where like, oh, you could never find God in that. I'm a Obama guy. And so I've been extremely upset with the rancor and the sort of sabotage, and it's just unbelievably upsetting to me. It occurred to me like a couple days ago, if people had talked about Bush like this, I don't know if I would have even heard it. You know? Because I'm so like parochial, like, oh, this is my guy, he's that guy. So when I hear it about my guy, I get all like riled up. But if it's about their guy, like, hey, you know, sort of funny. Wow, I just felt like, dude, you need to grow up. You need to listen so differently, so differently. And that idea that I had allowed things to happen in my name for a period of time that I didn't protest. Like, do not talk about a human being like that. Don't laugh about that. You can disagree. You can, but boy, I let that stuff all go because, you know, I had my little blinder things on. So for 3 days, I've been provoked to, in retrospect, honor the dignity of the human being of George Bush, who I disagree with vociferously on most things. But his humanity, I had decided I was just going to, wow, you can find God. So I found God in George Bush for 3 days. That's significant for me. I mean, you know what I mean? Wow. And this is not a political thing at all. I mean, you know, there's bushy people here, God bless you, and I'm telling you, I'm honoring the guy tonight. So there you go. Okay, it's on tape. Another Jesuit thing is discernment. And as far as I understand it, discernment basically is God more absent and present if I move this way? More present, stay here. Absent, God's presence is more dense here. Stay here, stay here. The other thing about discernment is freedom. The ideal place to arrive at as a result of doing good discernment is poised readiness. I love that. It reminds me of someone who's a dancer and is just ready to go. You know when dancers stand with that kind of dignity of like, and that you just look at them and you become dignified by association. Like, wow, I feel better. I'm going to sit up straight, and they're just with that their body carriage. There's that kind of like, I am ready to go, and I can go in any direction right now. What if we had that freedom in our relationships? I'm going to go say what I have to say because I'm free. I know, my hunch is this is of God, so I'm free to go in that direction. I'm not compelled. I don't have to. I'm free. Free. The fruit of good discernment is freedom to move. Not sure that you're right, but sure that you do it in trust and do it in good spirit. So discernment. Two more. Ignatius referred to himself and his companions as contemplatives in action, and sort of a corollary phrase of mine is you want to go to the places so that you can be in the midst of it all. In the midst of it all. And a lot of you are familiar with the history that people who took spirituality seriously had chosen to withdraw so that they could develop spirituality and not have to deal with all that stuff. And a lot of all that stuff was pretty nasty. And you can imagine the instinct, I just want to take God seriously, and no one's paying attention here. It's just a cacophony. I can't even listen. And thus, the monasteries. We want to go to a place where we can cultivate a life that's basically generous and dependent on God. And so they withdrew from all the, mess. I think it's those instances when I have a chance to really go on retreat and do that, there's something beautiful about being able to do that. The difficulty is that God remains in the mess. And so one of Ignatius's instincts was, I'm going to be in the midst of it all, and I trust I'll find God in the midst of it all. And that phrase is compelling to me. And when I say in the midst of it all, I mean in the midst of it all. The most unlikely places. A real Jesuit spirituality is don't miss one thing. You will find God in the most unlikely of places. I love that piece. And then basically the contemplative part of Ignatius was be aware, even in the midst of it, when you feel a more dense presence of God. And then at night, contemplate that. So that tomorrow you can reduplicate that as best you can. So Ignatius's discipline was contemplate all. You should be contemplative all the time. While you're moving, while you're changing dressings, while you are doing whatever you're doing. Where is God in all this? So contemplatives in action, in the midst of it all, emphasis on the all. And finally, I just think Ignatius risked experiencing himself as intimate with God. I mean, like really intimate with God. If you read his stuff, it's sort of awkward language. But it's really, there's almost an adolescent element, a beautiful adolescent element to it. It's just raw, like me and God. And he's talking like to God. And you're like, really, do you believe that? Like God? You and God, or you talk like that to God? I just feel like, I don't know if I have the courage. Or I feel like I'm sort of above the fray, almost too sophisticated to talk to God like that. Ignatius is like, no. I love that part. And also, intimacy implies beauty and mess. And a lot of my spirituality is rooted in the combination of beauty and mess, which is what intimacy is. So, that's sort of when I think Ignatius, those are the things that come to mind. Thank God for James Scott, S.J., my uncle Bob Purcell, S.J., all those Jesuits, and all the people that have taken the Jesuit charism and spirituality and tried to incorporate it. So my next sort of thing was, all right, well, what are some of the stories that I love that come to mind when I think of this? And it was odd that a lot of the stories that I thought of were stories that are written. I'm mostly a storyteller, so I tell most of my stories. But these ones, all of them actually, are paper, which is really unusual, and I thought, I'm just going to trust it and go with that. So let me share these with you. I'll comment on them a little bit. I have this deep affection for books. And so two that I brought tonight are ones that, have that, they're highlighted in every conceivable different colors. And then I rewrite the exact text. Oftentimes, a lot of the stuff that I write in the margins is the exact thing that's written that I've highlighted and underlined. Then I write it. I'm like, man, you are a slow learner. You need to go. This is like by way of review, So mostly, I'm just proud in a funny way that I have fallen in love with books. Dick Wesley once said, a really good task for a human being: fall in love with a book and then just read it over and over and over again. And that goes back to that mystery, 10,000 layers. If a book is worthy of falling in love with, then it's worthy of being read over and over and over again. This is one of them of mine. It's Kitchen Table Wisdom by Rachel Naomi Remen. She's a Jewish mystic, physician, healer. And these are just vignettes that I think are full of soul. And two of them from this book came to mind when I thought of Ignatius and relationships.